Would you like an amuse-bouche?
Hello there, and welcome to the If It Swims podcast, the multi-species angling podcast. For 1313 Media, I am Bret Bolton. Joining me for episode 10 are Justin Wingert.
Hey, man. Is it the blind cave tetra?
And well, you guessed already? And
Sure did.
and Dave Spear.
You know, I'm just representing myself today. I'm a free agent.
Well, you're also 1313 Media. You just don't know it yet.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Is this a cult?
Probably.
probably.
All right.
Hey, thanks for joining, guys.
Not yet.
This month, we're following up on some recent fishing trips, reading some fishing news, and then the fish of the month. But we'll start with recent trips. What do you guys have?
I looked at a lot of water that I wanted to fish.
Oh, you were in Seattle, weren't you?
I was in Seattle. I went up there for a wedding, and I got really, really close to spending way too much money to spend about an hour fishing. Because we went by a hardware store to get some firewood because we were actually staying in an Airbnb, and it turned out to be right on the water.
Dude.
And in the hardware store, they had a whole bunch of fishing gear. They had bait. They sold licenses. And I added it all up, and it would have been like $150 for maybe an hour or two of fishing, and probably wouldn't be able to get the rod home either. So I considered it really, really hard, but I didn't do it because it also wouldn't have been safe to fish after dark because the shore there was just like riprap and rocks for like 4 feet down. So I definitely didn't want to fish it after dark. And like I said, I was there for a wedding, so we had a fairly tight schedule to over the weekend to stick to for wedding events and stuff. But I was sorely tempted to do it and catch like one weird little like 4-inch fish I've never seen and heard of in my life and have to like Google Lens it. The hell is
Nice.
this thing?
So this is why.
So I almost did that, but
This is why you need a 4-piece or 7-piece spinning rod that you can just throw in a bag.
If I had the option, I probably would have done that.
Yes.
True. I guess we need to start begging for sponsors so Justin can get a hookup on those trips. I don't know, Justin. I figure the way to do that is, hey, $150 feels a little steep. Well, you know, just buy some monofilament, some lead, and some hooks, and hand line it.
Get a Gatorade bottle.
Hand line Puget Sound. Yes, exactly.
Hey, man, you would not be the first.
Oh, you could very well catch something there.
Yeah.
Nice. Dave, did you make it out?
Oh, I made it out.
Oh, that does not sound promising, man.
I went to water. I found water.
All right.
I was looking for specific fish, and I found them.
Oh, it's tougher.
And I got skunked again. And this little river spot has been the most predictable spot in my area to find carp. I was trying to sight fish for carp.
Sure.
And I used to always tell people when I was taking people out that had never carp fished before that the fish will either eat or spook. And if they don't eat your fly, and if they don't spook, they didn't see it. And you got to put it closer to them or change something up about, you know, the depth of the fly or whatever else. And I still believe that to be true. What I find so strange in this particular spot, I actually got a lot of shots, which is very rare since I moved to this area. And I actually got several shots, but these fish are the spookiest. I would get up within several feet of them. They had no idea I was there. I drop a fly in them, and it was like I dropped dynamite in the river. Every single one of them would just spook. So anyway, that's my October.
That's nuts. Spooking from the fly impacting the water, or when they saw it?
When they saw it.
Oh.
Well, they saw Dave.
Yeah.
Were you fishing with like a crazy purple and an orange fly?
Man, I was fishing with like my bread and butter carp fly. I've been fishing for like 20 years. Yeah. I mean, I've caught hundreds of carp with the thing. I've caught bonefish with it and black drum and redfish, but for whatever reason, I think I'm going to go back and try just some different colors. See if I can, this fly that I use is a little bit of a rust color.
Of course.
And see if I try like a tan or a green or a black or just try a different fly or something.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't sink very fast, but for whatever reason, it didn't matter if it dropped in front of them or if I did a slow scoot in front of their face, they just would bolt.
No part of it, huh?
Yeah.
By the way, come on. I remembered the name of your fly.
Yeah, good job.
Just saying,
Dave, you should have tried noodling them.
Let's
get down in the river, wrestle them right out.
I get close enough to them. I tried to net one once with one of those little trout nets
down there or in North.
No, North Texas. I found some basically some just basking carp. They're just kind of hanging out in the milfoil, just sitting there. And I tried to head swipe a few of them.
Sure.
I never did succeed.
Sure.
So,
Dave, I've poked a few. I know. Hey, get moving.
All right, so you got to tell us about you, Bret, because I mean, so far 2 out of 3 skunks.
Me, well, it's not a whole lot better. So mine's not been very exciting, but I did get out twice to fish for some carp. The first one was at a small pond that is ridiculously full of carp. Like, there's just way too many carp in there. And I went out there to do some testing for an event coming up next year that we're probably calling the Carp Ladder. You start off with a regular bait, and by the time it's over and you've worked your way up the ladder, you're trying to catch carp on things that are absolutely impossible.
We talked about this a bit on the bonus
podcast. Well, it's coming together. And what I'm calling the final boss or the final rung in the ladder, so far, I'll keep it a secret for now, is the most insane thing you can imagine.
I'm thinking chicken noodle soup. I'm thinking something
soup?
Liquid.
How in the world?
Dip your hook in it.
Tomato bisque. Just
yeah.
I dipped my hook in this bisque here. Let's see if
oh
I catch
man!
anything.
So I caught about a dozen carp out there, which is awesome, but not that surprising for this lake I was in.
Sure.
And I tested out some things with the carp ladder, mostly to see if they would stay on a hair or stay on a hook. And I've cut a few things out of the ladder because of that trip, but we'll see how it goes. The second thing I did was actually yesterday. I went to a local lake to try for some carp again for the If It Swims Christmas carp tasting that we're doing. I need to get some carp for it, and I didn't get enough. Actually, I didn't even keep any of those guys. I caught 4 of the smallest carp I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
They were all under 10 inches.
Oh, wow.
Those are like somebody's backyard pond fish.
It was weird. And this was in a lake that 30s have come from. 10 inches. Crazy.
I thought carp were born at 2 pounds. I mean, I didn't.
No, that's the way it feels usually, right? These guys were tiny. 3 of them were beautiful. I guess when they're small, they're really pretty, right?
Yeah.
One of them had half a tail and like 3/4 of a dorsal fin. That guy was.
No, I knew where you were fishing.
That guy was a mess.
And lake is notorious for mangled fish.
And that one with half a tail did not fight much, let me tell you.
They just sort of rolled over. He's like, get it over with.
Yeah. Yeah, no complaints, though. Catching some carp on a 78-degree day, sitting in the shade, I can handle that, It's been
It sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, 70 out sounds beautiful.
Well, it's a little cooler up here than it is there. A little.
Yeah.
It's gonna be 90 again tomorrow.
It will,
Hotter.
but then next week's better.
Yep.
And I got to get some carp in for the Christmas carp tasting.
Right? It's going to be tough if we're just eating pollock, crab with a K.
Crab with a yeah.
Crab with a
Oh
K.
man, is that pollock? Usually?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's a real fish.
Well, yeah.
Crab with a K is a real fish, and it makes me feel better about it. It's pollock.
Because at least you're eating actual seafood.
You kind of are. I think it's like the sausage or the hot dog of seafood, though, because if you think about the fact there's no texture at all to it, I think they grind them up,
Probably.
and then they put that weird dye on
Yeah.
them to make them look like,
Like crab.
lobster or crab. Yeah.
Like crab with a C.
Yeah.
Hey, I caught a crab with a C in Seattle. Does that count? I picked it up with my hands.
Just one?
Yeah, just a little short crab.
I mean, it is something that lives in the water.
Technically, I collected a creature from the water.
Technically, you needed a license to do so you were fishing. How's that?
Oh, well, there you go.
They didn't mention that, man.
I didn't think of it until just now.
I like catching crabs. I catch them down on the Texas coast all the time.
Mhm. This is just a little short crab on the shore where you would expect.
Should have brought it home. A redfish would eat it.
Somehow, I don't think that would have been legal. They wouldn't even let you fish with shrimp from the grocery store. I don't think they'll let me fish with crab from another state.
This is a good point.
Here's a random question I just
All
thought
right.
that you might know the answer to, Brett.
Not likely.
Do we have toxic shellfish on the Gulf Coast?
As in shellfish that are that are naturally toxic to humans?
Yes, I think so.
Not to my knowledge. I'm sure we have some that are more likely to get mercury and PCBs in them than others.
Yeah, I don't honestly know if that's the case with these or not, but I noticed when I was on the beach there by where we were staying that we were near a campground, and on all the campground signs, one of them was a huge sign that said like danger in like giant letters, and it had like all the like poison markers and stuff. And I went up and I read it, and it was talking about a toxic varnish clam in this area, and it described the size and the color of the shell and said that these specific clams contain dangerous biotoxins that are extremely harmful to humans. Do not eat them.
Naturally, I'm guessing, right?
I'm assuming it said biotoxins.
Yeah.
So
I've never.
I took a picture of the sign. I'll shoot it to you later if you want. I'll shoot it to you now if you want to see it.
Yeah, I've never heard of any shellfish. I'm sure there are some that taste terrible.
Yeah, I had never. I thought of like those freshwater mussels that like we tried those when I was a kid once just for fun, and it literally just tasted like eating mud. It was horrible.
That does not surprise me. I've never tried one, but it seems like it would taste like eating mud.
Yeah.
The Native Americans ate those mussels, by the way. I don't know how they prepared them, but they were a part of their food source.
There's probably something you could do to make them taste better, I would think.
Sure. Tabasco.
Yeah, Native Americans, famous for their love of Tabasco.
My first thought was, there's not that much lemon juice in the world.
Right.
So, anybody read any fishing news?
Nope.
No?
Oh,
No,
I can say with almost 99% certainty that all three of us read fishing news
Sure.
It's true.
within the last hour, hurriedly preparing for this episode.
Man, I actually like it that way. It keeps it fresh for all of us.
There you go.
At least that's my excuse for doing it last minute myself. So, how about Dave? You want to go first?
I have lots of fishing news.
Wow.
But I think I'm going to keep this one short and sweet.
Cool.
And this actually was published today.
Nice.
I don't know when it happened, but audience members attending an orca show at SeaWorld San Antonio got more than they bargained for when the killer whale defecated in its pool and then splashed the crowd with soiled water.
Did it on purpose.
It totally did it on purpose.
Alex Bermudez posted a video to TikTok showing the orca swimming in its glass-walled pool with a cloud of whale poop following behind it. The oceanic mammal then splashes the feces-filled water onto the crowd and SeaWorld employees, eliciting a mixture of shock, disgust, and amusement. SeaWorld San Antonio has yet to comment on the incident.
Nice. Dave, did you say shock, disgust, and amusement?
And amusement.
I assume
yes.
those three different things were dependent on where your seats were.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, and this is, I said this is short and sweet. There's only one more sentence or one more paragraph to this. Basically, SeaWorld announced in 2016 that it would end its orca breeding program and phase out the animals at its parks after the current generation dies out. 5 orcas currently reside at SeaWorld San Antonio.
Okay. I'm sure you guys have the same thoughts as myself for keeping large marine mammals essentially as showpieces and pets at a SeaWorld, but we'll leave that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, guilty as charged. I mean, I love to see that stuff when I was a kid. I think it killed it for me when I saw
when they were kids.
Yeah, I think it killed it for me when I saw somebody posted like an aerial map of a SeaWorld,
Mm-hmm.
and it showed the size of the parking lot versus the size of the orca's habitat, and it was just like, oh, ouch, that hurts.
Yep.
Orcas are very intelligent mammals, and it's not the same thing as a crawfish that lives in a mud pit somewhere, and only it doesn't know what big and small is.
Very true.
Again, this is not the first time that I've had to say that's not a soapbox.
Well, I left you with the defecation soiled water spewing story because I found 4 or 5 actually other stories that were a little bit interesting.
This one has poop in it.
Right. But they were a little too educational. I was like, we have this educational story, and then we're going to get into Fish of the Month, and suddenly we're the fish nerds.
Which is another podcast, also fantastic.
Is there one called Fish Nerds?
The Fish Nerds podcast. Yeah, I've talked to the guys. I'm trying to get trying to get one of those guys on our show to talk to us, and potentially one of us, or all of us, or 2 of us, whatever, to go on to their show.
Nice.
They're great people. Great guys.
Are they looking to have their classy podcast dumbed down?
If so, they will like to have us on because that's what we do.
We talk about fish poop.
Oh, I figured last month we talked about bat poop.
We did.
And the fish that eat it.
We did.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right. So I've got a quick one here. I have one from pre-hurricanes Tampa.
Okay.
Scientists have an answer regarding what is responsible for the deep reverberating sounds similar to bass turned up on a stereo that sends tremors through South Tampa homes in the middle of the night.
I think I saw this one.
Nice. Multiple theories have been floated, including a party boat on the bay, or an underwater military installation, or even aliens.
Is it the world's largest sand trout?
You're closer than you think, Dave. The real reason is far more primal, according to James Locascio, a fisheries program manager in Sarasota, who was contacted by residents to get to the bottom of the mystery. He says the likely cause? Black drum, which are in their mating season right now and typically rendezvous at night. The low-frequency drumming sounds are produced when the fish flex their muscles against their swim bladder as they mate, Locascio told news station WTVT. Underwater sounds don't typically transfer into the air because water is so much denser, but black drum makes such a low-frequency sound that it can travel further distances and through further items, such as the ground and tunnels, and make it into people's homes. Locascio's theory is based on research he did for his dissertation almost 2 decades ago in Southwest Florida. They used to call it the Punta Gorda growl in the 1970s, he said. So down there, it's been going on for a long time.
The old Punta Gorda growl.
Black drum populations in the Tampa area may have increased so much that the noise is more deafening, he told WTVT.
I wonder if they synchronize, like how crickets kind of do. You know what I mean? I wonder if that's.
I didn't think so.
I wonder if that's a multiplication of many fish, or if it's just the din of.
Right.
It's a black drum orgy.
It is, but you said sand trap. Black drum are monsters.
Yeah.
When they start thumping, you know it.
Yeah, that's true.
So the recent increase is one explanation for what residents describe as louder and louder drumming each year. Abby Reynolds told the news station she started hearing the drumming noises shortly after she and her family moved into a new house about a mile from the bay in South Tampa.
Wow.
Then it was louder next year and louder the next year, sometimes vibrating her pillow and terrifying her son, who was 4 at the time.
Oh, no.
Poor kid.
That's awesome, though. In December 22, the Tampa Police Department reported an uptick in noise complaints It's a fun, crazy story. And myself, I can think of a lot worse sounds to fall asleep to at night than drum
Sure.
having some fun out in the bay, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, what's happening is the drum are so horned up that they're causing tiny earthquakes.
Sure.
Yeah. I like to think of it that way. Tiny earthquakes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it was cool because we talked about the drum family recently,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was really funny to come across a story that related to it just a couple weeks later.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Making it into houses.
A mile away.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's amazing. Like I could sort of see like if you have one of those houses that's like
On stilts.
yeah, or your backyard is a boat dock,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I wish.
A condo on a channel, you know?
That's what I need, Dave. It's a condo on a channel. I'll just go out there and catch crabs for dinner every night,
That'd be cool.
and I'll be the world's expert at cooking pinfish,
Yeah.
right? Because I can get them, and I'm sure they're delicious.
They're
Would you like an
basically just saltwater
amuse-bouche?
bluegill. An amuse-bouche.
I have many small pinfish to offer you.
Oh, man.
I mean, they're basically saltwater bluegill.
Saltwater bluegill, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, Justin, what'd you find?
I found a story about a fish with a suntan
Nice.
Interesting.
from the Kansas City Star. Even though the story takes place in Oklahoma, we have
Sure.
angler reels in prehistoric fish with dark suntan in Oklahoma. An angler recently reeled in a prehistoric fish with a rare and eye-catching appearance during a fishing trip in Oklahoma, photos show. We do have photos. Obviously, we can't show them on the podcast, but I think you'll get the idea.
Show notes.
Yep. There you go. I'll send you the link. Aiden Miller was visiting Kaw Lake with friends when he and another friend, Chance, both hooked something on their lines, the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation said. They reeled in the same type of fish at the exact same time, the department said, but what Miller pulled out of the water looked very different, a 28-pound lake dweller with a body like an oil slick. It was a paddlefish, officials say. Unlike his friend's 30-pound gray and white catch, Miller's prize was entirely black. All paddlefish have the ability to be pitch black in coloration, but we rarely see this in the wild, said the department. Two things can be responsible for this unusual coloration. The fish may naturally have traits that cause it to have darker skin pigmentation, or more likely, it could be getting a lot of exposure to sunlight. Effectively, these fish are getting a dark suntan, wildlife officials said. When adult paddlefish spend extended time in shallow tailwater habitats where the water clarity may be greater, they take on darker coloration. After snapping a few photos, the fish were released back into Kaw Lake, which is roughly 120 miles northeast of Oklahoma City. That actually surprised me. I hadn't realized that paddlefish were caught that far north. I tend to think of them as like Red River and around that area.
They catch them up into Missouri as well, don't they?
Yeah, the article actually goes on to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Paddlefish, also called spoonbills due to their spoon-like snout, are a prehistoric species and the oldest fish species in North America. Their fossil records date back farther than 300 million years. They can be found across much of the U.S., from New York to Montana, and as far south as Texas.
Barely.
That's the end of the article. But yeah, that part really surprised me. I had no idea there were paddlefish in Montana. Also, I thought it was really cool that two guys both caught a paddlefish at the exact same time. It is Oklahoma, so I don't know what methods they were using.
I do.
But I have an idea. But still, catching two at the same time, and one of them turns out to be pitch black, is pretty cool.
Super interesting, yeah. So you called it or you mentioned they were also called spoonbill.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my grandfather called them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he called them spoonbill catfish. And I know
that's pretty cool.
They're not catfish, but it's fine. It's a good enough name for an old time.
Right.
Yeah, it works.
That's a good colloquial name for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they don't have scales, so relating them to catfish does seem reasonable.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. It's a cool story.
It gets the point done. Yeah, not an especially weird one for me this month, but I found it interesting, and I I like the idea of a paddlefish getting a suntan. Just like hanging out in a tail race, tanning up a little bit.
Sure. We've all caught fish, even largemouth or other species, in lakes that are clear, and also the same species of fish in lakes that are super, super turbid, and they can look substantially different.
Yeah.
And I assume it's basically a suntan.
Yeah. I remember the first time I caught a largemouth that was just like, I mean, it was shaped like a bass.
It's white.
And it sort of barely had a lateral stripe, but yeah, it was basically white. Yeah. And it was definitely the water.
Yeah. It's just, the sun can't reach it.
Yeah.
So the story seems reasonable. It's interesting. And the three of us look different. We're the same species.
That's true.
That's true.
I'll drop a link to the article and the Facebook page. The pictures.
Awesome. I'll drop it in the show notes.
Chat. Yep.
Very, very cool. Those were three, surprisingly, three fairly straightforward stories this month.
I don't know. Dave's was about a whale pooping on people.
That's a good point.
Well,
maybe, yeah, that's a good point. Dave's was all about whale poop.
Which clearly made Dave's the best.
I agree. We should start ranking the stories each month. Well, for this month, Dave's story is obviously the winner.
Well done, Dave. Congratulations.
It's going to be tough to beat the one. I don't know if this was the first episode of If It Swims, but it was definitely an early one. It's going to be tough to beat the story about the guy taping fish to an ATM. I mean, that every time I'm on this show, I'm looking for that story in a different form.
So am I.
Dave, are you referring to the fish bandit?
The fish bandit,
as he calls himself. So
live, laugh, tape fish to ATMs.
Yes, live, laugh, tape fish to ATMs. I actually tried to find that guy to have him on.
Right?
Did you really?
I tried.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
His Instagram is gone. I mean, he got in trouble with the law.
He got charged.
Yes.
So I'm sure he probably nuked everything.
Yeah, it's a little tougher to find. I found someone who had recreated his original page, but it's not him.
Yeah, it's not quite the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
And I didn't try very hard, but I thought it'd be amusing to have him on the show.
That would have been really funny, yeah.
So, Fish Bandit, if you're out there, give me a call.
We'd love to talk to you.
We'll call you Fish Bandit the whole time. Don't worry about it.
Mr. Fish Bandit.
Mr. Fish Bandit, if you prefer.
We'll blur your voice if necessary. We'll pixelize your voice.
Sure. We'll use a deep throat voice modification on you, which would be also amusing anyway.
That's true.
All right. Fishing. We did news. Is there anything left?
Probably not. That's it. See you guys next month.
Yep.
Let's do it. You guys ready for it?
I am.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Awesome.
Justin already guessed the answer at the very beginning of this episode.
I forgot his guess, though. What was it?
The Mexican blind cave tetra.
Oh, yes. That guy.
Oh.
That's the guano eater, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
That's exactly who it is.
So let's do a fish of the month. Our fish of the month this month has a native range in North America from the Rocky Mountains in the west to the Appalachian Mountains in the east, from the Hudson Bay Basin in Canada to the Gulf of Mexico in the U.S. and northern Mexico. So you get a path of right down the middle. There are currently 13 members of this fish's genus and 34 extant species in its family. The IGFA lists the world record as 2 pounds, 2 ounces from Missouri in 1971. Of course, listeners will know that about 73% of the reason we do Fish of the Month is to look at the nicknames and maybe draw some attention to how weird they can be. That said, let's hear them.
I kind of have a guess, but I want to hear them.
No way you've got a guess.
It's a terrible guess.
I want to hear the guess.
Dave, I'm going to be
not right.
I'm going to be impressed because
I know this isn't. Yeah. I know this isn't right.
Okay,
but when you said 2.2 pounds, my immediate reaction was, "Oh, this is one of the crappie." But I know it's wrong, so we'll move on.
Not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
I have one also that it was mostly also related to
The range?
where it is and how big it is. Yeah.
What's yours?
Rock bass.
Interesting.
Ooh.
You want to hear some nicknames?
I do.
Yes.
Slicks.
Call me some slicks.
How about rice-filled slick?
Okay.
Branch perch.
Branch perch.
Shade perch. Black perch. Sand bass. Mud bass. Rubber tail.
What?
I said rubber tail.
Slicks and rubber tails.
Blue spotted sunfish.
Well, that's not it. That doesn't even sound like a nickname. It sounds like a real fish, but I know it's a nickname. So, all right.
Exactly. Goggle eye.
Oh.
Rock bass.
So my guess is a nickname.
Yeah. Did somebody already guess the warmouth?
We already did the warmouth.
Yeah.
Oh, did you in a previous episode?
Yeah.
Oh, I suck.
One of the early
Yeah,
ones.
so
One of the
anyway,
early ones.
Goggle eye. All
goggle eye, rock bass, pond perch,
Pond perch.
green perch, and finally, just greenie.
right.
Is it the green sunfish?
It is, of
Okay.
course.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the green sunfish.
Lepomis cyanels, the green sunfish. So, as usual, Dave and Justin don't have any chance to prepare for the fish of the month. So, that said, what can you guys tell me about them?
They're angry.
I like angry. It's good. And descript.
They get bigger than I thought.
2.2 is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, 2.
They have a giant mouth for such a small fish.
Giant mouth.
Yeah.
But 2.2, I'd love
Very
to catch
aggressive.
a 2-pound green sunfish, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
Look like a green
It would
largemouth.
look like a little green. Yeah, I was gonna say it would
Well,
look like a little green football, but yeah,
a greener
largemouth.
a greener largemouth, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the old saying, right? And I don't know if it was about a specific sunfish, but was, pound for pound the gamest fish that swims, right?
Yeah.
And a green sunfish, like I caught one that was probably, I don't know, 5 ounces, 6 ounces, like the size of my hand, like my full, like, the body was the size of my hand plus a tail and some fins. And it just took my bait and just kind of laid on the bottom and said, nope. I mean, they're strong.
Yeah. And they're angry.
For their size,
Yeah, they fight very hard.
They do fight quite well. And what I like about them is I used to spend a lot of time teaching angling and fly angling to youth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I can find a pond full of green sunfish,
Oh, yeah.
and I can get a guy who can cast a fly rod 12 foot, done.
Yeah. I was going to say 7
Well,
feet,
yeah.
but whatever.
Done. Right? They had to cast 30 foot for the merit badge in Scouts.
Gotcha.
But 12 foot, man, you can get all the green sunfish you can handle.
Well, green sunfish to me, that's the fish when you're, this would apply with conventional tackle too, but like I'd be out there with a fly rod and I think I'm fishing a topwater for bass and you get a violent strike. And more often than not, it's a green sunfish.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And not even always a big one.
No,
I mean, they'll
they
eat
don't
it.
care.
They'll eat a topwater that's the size of them.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. They are extremely aggressive
Mhm.
and they are also extremely prolific.
Oh,
At least
man.
here in Texas, if a pond has been sitting there for like 30 days or so, it's already got bullhead and green sunfish in it.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one's first. The old joke I used to make was that my uncle left his camper out back and had water in the toilet, and no one took it out. And 2 months later, there's a green sunfish in there.
It's pretty much true.
I assume that green sunfish and bullhead are one of the fish where birds can readily move their eggs.
Yeah, it sure seems like it.
Yeah.
So I know there's ponds around here that they built as like drainage when they were putting in churches and neighborhoods and stuff. And they were built like a year ago and there's already green sunfish in them.
Right. They're magical. They just appear. They are as close as we have to spontaneous generation as the green sunfish.
Schrodinger,
Right.
Schrodinger's sunfish. You look at a new body of water. You're like, I bet there's sunfish in it. No, there isn't. It's both.
It's both. Is there sunfish in there yet or not? Yes.
So
Yeah,
I'm going
exactly.
back to the nicknames. So slicks
I don't know, man.
or rubber tail slicks. Those are some.
Rubber tail I can kind of get because they have that different tail than a lot of other sunfish species.
Sand bass. That brings up another topic that I was going to mention as I find interesting is when a fish has nicknames that are the same nicknames other fish have, or even the species name of another fish. It had sand bass, obviously. Goggle eye is a nickname as well that I have heard for both warmouth and for rock bass.
Yeah.
And then my guess, obviously, right, my guess was rock bass, which is a totally different species.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't see it on anybody's list, but I assume just from looking at this, I'm sure somewhere somebody calls them pumpkin seed anyway.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Well, and they like many sunfish, but maybe green sunfish are more prolific at this. They do tend to do a lot of crossbreeding, or at least it seems like I catch a lot of the hybrids.
I've seen hybrids.
They hybridize a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Like it just doesn't seem to be that rare. Like
No.
you'll be like, oh, that's
Mhm.
clearly a green sunfish and something
Something
because
else,
it's not
yeah.
colored right.
Probably a bluegill.
Yeah, that's a very common
Yeah.
one, right? Is the green sunfish or the bluegill, but
Yeah. And I think a lot of that, Dave, is those two species get, I won't say dumped in, but stuck into small ponds when those guys are the only biomass in there.
yeah,
So it's going to happen.
and they probably breed at the exact same water temperature too. So
That's probably it as well. Yeah. I know that's one of the things that naturally separates some species from mixing like that is the temperature when they go.
yeah,
And those guys must go pretty close to each other.
yeah. Well, very cool. The green sunfish.
They're tasty.
I agree with Bret. This is where you want to teach a kid to fish. Doesn't matter how old they are or what kind of method you're trying to use. I mean, that's it.
Right.
That's it right there. At least in this part of the country.
Well, right through the middle, it seems like, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
With youth, success is an early success is a big part of it.
Yeah.
You, myself, and likely Justin, when we were 4 years old, we didn't care about not catching a fish for 6 hours straight. We were happy not catching a fish.
Yep.
But most people aren't going to put up with that.
Most people don't have that particular disease.
Exactly. So, yeah, but for youth, early success is an excellent tool for getting people into the sport. And green sunfish are happy to help out in that category.
If you can catch them out of appropriate waters, they're also very tasty. Unfortunately, around here, most of the time
Yeah.
I'm catching green sunfish, it's in some little urban pond that's full of like fertilizer runoff and stuff.
I've caught some in a tail race in the area, and I would probably
Mhm.
eat those.
Yeah.
But generally, no. They taste like bluegill, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. I ate a lot of them up north when we were catching them out of rivers and
Yeah.
stuff, and they were delicious.
Yeah, those felt a little wilder, didn't they?
Mhm.
Oh, man. So does that cover the green sunfish?
Probably.
Yeah.
We've all caught them. Two of us have caught them on the fly rod.
I feel sorry for the people that live west of the Rocky Mountains or
Well,
east of the Appalachians.
I said native range. I assure you.
Oh, I got you.
I didn't check, but I assure you there's green sunfish in California by now, isn't there?
Probably.
I mean, they're everywhere. And probably even more east of the Appalachians because it seems more like their environment anyway, doesn't it?
Kind of does, yeah.
Yeah.
Warm, a little turbid.
Yeah.
I actually have always thought that was a little odd because I can see, especially with the Rocky Mountains, that cut down, the western half of the United States,
Right.
that's a different biological environment, right? Geological, I don't know how you call it, but
Both.
right? It's a very different environment. But then once you get to the plains on the West Coast, it's not that much different temperature wise, all that kind of
Right.
stuff from the things on the other side of the
It's
mountains.
just
But I could
that
see how the Rocky
separation's
Mountains is
visible,
like
yeah.
a wall.
Right, yeah,
Right.
perfect.
Like it just was a natural wall at some point in history.
Well, and the Continental Divide is
Yeah.
there. Rivers, that's it. When you're right, the Appalachians don't really seem to have that wall.
yeah. Next up on If It Swims, do fish cross continental divides?
Man.
We're going to have to get a fish professor for that one.
I do in my cooler.
Right.
Wait.
When they're for dinner.
Oh, nice. Oh, man.
Oh.
All right. So over the next few weeks, send in your green sunfish pics and stories to FOTM at ifitswims.com. Pictures may make it to the webpage, and stories will probably be read here. So let's get out of here, guys.
Yep.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us this month. Please subscribe and do any of that feedback review type stuff. We are on the web at ifitswims.com and on Instagram at if_it_swims. All links to find us are available in the show notes, along with links to items covered this month. Our music was written for us by Dallas artist Jeff Hewitt. Join us again next month, and as always, we will see you out there.